Maybe this will be the last one I watch because I do have some stuff I wanna do afterwards. So we'll see. We'll see what time it is when this one's done. I made I made the new download statistics for my software project. Usage on ARM increased quite a bit, and EL10 picked up. EL10. What is EL10?
Making a game is hard.
Oh, do you mean Enterprise Linux?
I've been working on my own game for 2 years now, and there have been so many aspects
Oh,
of this
yeah, I've seen
journey
this
that
game
have caught
before.
me
Yeah,
by
yeah.
surprise, and I just was not prepared for. And after thousands of hours of developing, play testing, throwing stuff away, and iterating, I've come to find that while making a game of any kind in and of itself is hard, the real challenge is in making a fun game. So that's what
good
this video is
game.
about. The specific challenges that I've run into that I just wasn't expecting when I started this journey, as well as all my makeshift solutions for overcoming these challenges and making this whole solo dev thing work out. And I'm happy to announce that in spite of all the challenges, today Blood Thief is in Steam Next Fest, the biggest indie festival of the year. And to celebrate, I've launched an updated demo with a new weapon and a secret
Is that a
level.
dildo?
I'll be dropping hints for finding the secret level throughout the video, so make sure you're paying attention. All right, let's go. Okay, so the Blood Thief demo launched back in February, and let me just say, holy crap, did that go better than expected. Like, oh my god, 70,000 players. Look, Mom, we got the 8th spot on speedrun.com, right next to Super Mario Odyssey. But after the hype wore off, I was left with the harsh reality of the situation. People now expected a finished game. And not just a finished game, but a good finished game.
Yeah, that's the problem with with releasing a demo. It creates a lot of hype. And then, unless you have some way to build the hype back up, people have just forgotten about your game. Because by the time you're done, there's probably been like 1,000 games that have come out, and maybe like 100 good ones.
This is the first big challenge I ran into.
Maybe 50 good ones.
Content Mountain. So I have roughly 30 levels mapped out for Blood Thief, give or take a few depending on if things get cut or expanded on. The demo has 6 levels, so that's 24 left. Needless to say, I had my work cut out for me. So I did what I do best when I have a ton of work to do. I went in my cave and I locked in for like 3 months straight. So you might be thinking, 24 levels, that's not that many. Just get it done, Largus. Come on, I want my game and I want it now. But I think cranking out 24 high quality levels that are actually good and fun to play has just been so much more complicated than I was expecting, particularly for 2 reasons. And to try to explain the first reason,
you end up 24 is a lot, and that means you gotta think of some unique ideas so things don't start to look the same.
I'm gonna talk about doors.
Doors. You like doors?
Behold, the door. A portal into unknown realms.
Portal?
The seed of all that is fun, and the unsung hero of so many video games. But before we can understand the door, we must first understand fun itself. And who better to give us this lesson
Mandatory fun
in the Half-Life 25th anniversary doc.
And so we had to come up with some notion of what fun was. We knew it was an ad hoc definition, and it was the degrees to which the game recognizes and responded to the player's choices and actions. I'm getting a narcissistic injury when the world is ignoring me.
Okay, that escalated substantially in that last part there, but point taken, Gabe. The way I see it, doors are kind of a fundamental building block for achieving what Gabe Newell is talking about here. And as a result, I estimate I've placed 50 bazillion of them over the course of the last 3 or 4 months. Here's a simple door. You walk up to it, and it opens.
Wow.
Wonderful. But that is but the simplest use case. In some levels, I want doors to be locked, and you need a specific key to open it. In other levels, I want to open the door with a lever, or maybe by ringing a bell, or maybe by killing an enemy, or killing 10, or maybe just stepping in some specific area. Some doors need to open slow and dramatic. What if the player is going super fast? I don't want them to bonk their head on the door when they're flying by, so let's have the door detect how fast the player is going and move faster if the player is moving faster. Some doors are trap doors.
I do like this art style. This is actually really cool. It's like classic RPG, but like as a modern game. Taking the fun of a modern game, but, you know, holding on to that legacy art style. And I don't know if this is intentional, but the textures here don't align. I assume this is intentional. Because I know a lot of older games did not have textures aligning properly.
Some doors are walls. Some doors are paintings. Some doors are gonna be huge. But they can't just look huge. They need to sound huge too, because...
Brodie game dev stream when?
That
when indeed.
Right.
One day, maybe. We'll see.
That's better. So in Blood Thief, I had so many use cases for door-like things that I just made this single super entity that encompasses basically anything that moves. The VT Mover, the greatest door technology ever invented. The second greatest door technology ever invented.
That's a pretty cool door. How the fuck does magic?
The second greatest door technology ever invented. The VT Mover is the internal name for doors in Blood Thief, basically adapted from the mover example in the Funk Godot documentation. Anything can be a VT Mover, not just a door. For example, I use it in this level to make a ceiling drop on your freaking face. In this part, a VT Mover is a high-speed elevator. You can make them locked and unlocked by anything, like maybe you need a key, or you need to pull a lever, or maybe you need to clear a room of enemies. Also, movers can trigger other movers to move. Check out this little setup I made. I stand on this button, which is just a little baby VT mover that goes up and down. I connected it to this mover, which is a door in the traditional sense. I set it up so when I stand on the little button mover, it triggers the door mover. I then have this other mover right above me connected to a breakable rope. If I break the rope, it triggers the mover to go down, which triggers the button mover, which triggers the door mover, creating this portal style pressure pad type puzzle. It's all just movers that trigger other movers. There's no actual physics going on
that one.
Just smoke and mirrors, or should I say smoke and movers. So I mainly brought this up to serve as an analogy for the hidden complexity that comes with implementing literally anything. I also just want to make a point that while it's actually relatively easy to make a level that is pretty to walk through, to paraphrase what Gabe Newell was talking about.
Yeah, having a mod, like making some models, putting some textures on it, yeah, it'll take you some time. It's not hard. It's just time consuming. Yeah, obviously, like, making something hyper-realistic, for sure, absolutely. But, like, making something that just looks okay and, like, good. Now, making it do things, there's the hard part.
Making a world feel alive and interesting to explore requires interactivity and responding to the player's actions in a variety of interesting and surprising ways. And this just amplifies the complexity of making content so much. One thing I'm really, really excited about is that I'm now at the point where 100
Trench Broom is a free GPL v3 cross-platform level editor for Quake-based engine games. Okay. Well, that's cool.
that I can share my Trench Broom config with the community, and modders will effectively have the exact same set of tools that I have for making maps for Blood Thief.
That's
As a
cool.
result, even with just the demo launch, there's already a little mapping community starting to form.
Aw.
I just can't wait to see where this goes. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that there are two reasons why this content mountain is so difficult to climb. And this second reason is one that I really don't feel like I see enough people talking about. Keeping gameplay feeling fresh. Every great game is constantly introducing variety, novelty, new things to learn, new places to explore.
Glorious
With Blood Thief,
5
I want the player
FPS.
to genuinely be excited about starting up a new level because they have absolutely no idea what to expect. I think if the player isn't constantly learning new things, a game can start to get boring real quick. This is where the spider comes in. If you have arachnophobia, you might want to
You're a
skip to
bitch.
this timestamp. All right, last chance.
Ooh.
Alright, so the goal with the spider is going to be to
God.
encourage the player to slide, which is objectively the more fun way to move around in Blood Thief because you move way faster and it takes a lot more skill to move with control and
Oh,
precision.
okay.
First,
So yeah, it's basically source movement, I guess. It's like source movement action game. Actually really cool idea.
Spider's movement speed is way faster than your base movement speed, so you cannot run away from them. They will catch up to you, and they will catch up to you quickly. Whereas sliding into the knights just knocks them down for a few seconds, sliding into spiders fully explodes them, both killing them and granting you blood to fuel your powerful attacks and movement. But problems started to arise when I started adding a whole bunch of these little guys to the scene at once. As someone who's not too fond of spiders in real life, I thought it'd be super satisfying to be able to slide through a massive clump of them using my feet.
Glorious
freaking
frame
lawnmower.
rate.
But My computer said no. The issue was
Yep.
that every time I killed a spider, it spawned this explosion effect. And if I killed like 10 spiders at once, this was
If you just have the spiders here, it's already running like ass.
way too much happening at once, and it would cause major frame drops. I ended up solving this by introducing a spawn queue system for these explosions, where instead of spawning an explosion directly, I instead request that an explosion be spawned soonish by adding that request to a queue. Then I have a piece of code that pops a few requests from the queue every tick, and basically spreads this huge workload of explosions out over time. This might seem like it would cause visible delay.
In the grounded game, there's an arachnophobia setting. The scary spiders become bull graphics like. I've said before, but I think that if you're gonna have an arachnophobia toggle in a game, it should just add more spiders. It should just turn every single enemy into a spider.
Delays in the VFX, but in practice, it's completely unnoticeable as the game runs at 60 ticks per second, and all the requests usually get processed in just a few ticks. So another dev told me that I should have a spider-free mode for people that have a phobia of spiders. So here's my extremely low-effort solution to that. Look at these
Don't do
keys. And yeah, I'm sorry for what
the problem I have with arachnophobia modes is now that games have done them, it's kind of like this expected thing, right? Like we had 20 plus years of video games where if a game had a spider, it had a spider. And now it's like, oh, well, now it's an accessibility feature. Now you gotta have it. Like it's one thing, like, accessibility features are good. I don't have a problem with them. When we're talking things like screen readers, colorblind, like things that like legitimately stop your ability to play the game. If there's a spider in the video game, I don't fucking care. How do you survive if you see a spider in real life? Just deal with your fucking problems. I'm sure that's gonna get me some fun comments if people see this section.
Lots to do. So like I said earlier, the goal with enemies is to introduce gameplay variety. One thing I noticed a lot of players doing is just spam air dash at every opportunity they got. And I don't
because they're playing Sonic.
Air dash is super powerful early game, so spamming it is a solid strategy. But this, of course, gets very boring very quickly, so I had to do something about it. This is where the armored knight comes in. I wanted to have an enemy where air dashing it was like more situational, basically. The key difference with the armored knights would be that they would have more health than regular enemies, and if your air dash wasn't a killing blow, you'd actually bounce backwards, just destroying your forward momentum. My thinking was that bouncing you in the air could create some really dynamic combos. Plus, it would make it so people going for faster metal times would have to think a little bit more creatively to get rid of these guys more quickly. For example, by kicking them 300 style into a pit of lava.
This is so fucking cool.
Back at them for extra damage. Having these guys as a chess piece for levels just made scenarios so much more interesting. Take this combat scenario. Without the armored knights, a viable strategy would be to just dash from guy to guy until all the enemies are gone. But add in some armored knights, and now there's some interesting choices the player has to make. Do I quickly try to take out the archers first and isolate the armored guys? Or do I go for the crossbow so I can take out the armored knights from above? Maybe I try to go straight for them while they're close to this lava pit over here so I can kick them into the lava. Also, funny story, a long time ago, I equipped the regular knights with a super intelligent 10,000 IQ AI where every frame they took into account your speed and calculated the exact moment they should swing their sword to ensure that their attack landed right before yours. This turned out to be way too hard for early game though, so I kind of just scrapped that AI and kept it in my back pocket, and I'm finally pulling it back out for these armored knights. So not only are they stronger, but you're also not going to be able to just run up to them and slap them like the regular knights. This did prove to still be kind of frustrating to deal with though, so I made it so you could parry their attacks as well, which is great because a lot of players mentioned that they wanted more use cases for parrying. This is just one example.
Every game needs a parry.
Required so many little micro.
We're back to that fucking video game again. That video again, where every fucking video game has a parry. I'm not complaining again. I love parries.
Tweaks to start becoming fun. I'm still in the process of getting them right, by the way, so let me know in the comments if you have any ideas for fun ways that you can interact with them. This does, however, bring me to my next topic. Challenge number 2, endless knob turning. Let me tell you a story about this section right here. I liked it, but it was just not playtesting well.
Right.
Nobody else liked it besides me. I spent a few days workshopping different ideas for it, trying all sorts of different things, but what I ultimately settled on was just moving these platforms down by 1 unit. Yes, that's right. Moving these platforms down by 1 unit. And that
Oh.
change made all the difference. And now all of a sudden everyone liked it. And so in this instance, it worked out great. But I can't help but have this nagging fear that this kind of change is lurking around the corner for every level that I make. And turning a level from a B+ level into an A+ level is just a matter of moving a platform down by 1 unit. And then relating to that, the progress towards making something fun has just not been linear for me at all. Remember how I said the armored knights were created to basically solve the problem of air dashes being overpowered? Well, I also solved this problem with like a few hours of work by creating this bubble shield that I can attach to enemies that makes it so you can't air dash them. This change was probably equally transformative as the armored knights, and in many ways has created even more awesome gameplay scenarios and was like a fraction of the work. It's possible I'm just inexperienced, but man, sometimes it feels like I'm literally just banging my head against the wall until something interesting comes out.
I feel like that might be the case for a lot of devs. It's like, you come with an idea and you're like, oh, this is a great idea to a problem. And then like a few weeks later, it's like, oh, wait, here's another way to do it. But like this, like, I don't think it's a bad thing. Just like bash your head against the wall to come up with ideas. And then you might actually end up in a situation where you end up with like more than you would have initially come up with if you like landed on the good solution from the start, right? Like now he has both the shields and the knights. If he came with the shields from the start, he may not have added the armored knights. But I think that's a really cool idea.
So I want to go back to this example here, a true game dev success story. The truth is, this almost never happens. Usually the way it goes, at least for
Scrap
me,
it.
is
Delete
that
it.
one playtester will think a change is amazing and tell me, please don't change it, it's perfect. And the next day, I'll wake up to feedback from the next playtester saying, Glorious, you scum. It is so bad in every way. Please none of this. I think I've put myself in this weird situation where Blood Thief is different things to different people, and it's making the development process increasingly difficult. On the far end of the spectrum, we've got the ultra hardcore players. They want something that is super challenging, filled with intricate shortcuts and spots for infinite expression and creativity. Then on the other side of the spectrum, you've got your casual players, where if you only provide those intricate routes and shortcuts and you don't provide a simpler route, the level will just be far too overwhelming, and players like this tend to get lost and frustrated. Also, some players just like different stuff. Like there are some players that want more combat and more kind of like arena type scenes, and then there are other players that want kind of the more linear, just moving as fast as you can in a straight line, picking up as much speed as possible. Personally, I think Blood Thief should have both of these things because it keeps things interesting. But the downside of that is not every level is going to be a 10 out of 10 for every player. I think this is a good spot to just talk about getting and interpreting.
I think, yeah, I mean, he's probably going to go into this, but I think what you can run into is trying to make a game for everyone, right? Like, you need to have a vision for your game, and you need to accept that there are going to be people that just don't like it. Because if you let everybody's ideas sort of crowd your design, you end up creating something which you're not happy with and nobody else is happy with. But if you understand the feedback that like links to your goals, you can end up producing something where it hits a niche and it works really well there.
Feedback in general, which has been a really interesting and enlightening experience for me. I'll start by saying that my ego has slowly yet definitively been beaten to submission over the course of getting feedback on this game from literally hundreds of playtesters over the course of this 2-year process. But in getting all this feedback, I basically learned 2 valuable lessons. Feedback is most valuable if 1, you can compare it to earlier feedback, or 2, you have gameplay footage or analytics to go along with it. Starting with 1, I'm going to show off this feedback form I've been using for the demo. As it stands right now, 94.6% of people say the game is kind of fun or better. 34.7% of people are in this purple region, which is saying the game is freaking incredible. I'd pay $20 for the full version of this with more levels. So at face value, I'm really happy with this number. It's definitely really encouraging. The 94% number lines up somewhat closely to my demo reviews on Steam, so there seems to be some predictive power there. But when you really think about it, what does it really mean? I mean, 1, are they really serious? Would the feedback still be positive if they paid?
Yeah, this is the thing. A lot of people will say things, but they won't actually do them. What people... I think content creation is a great example of this. All or development in general, really. You know what? I'm gonna bring up the thing. Yeah. What customer says engineering mean? This one. This is a perfect example. It's a slightly different thing, but it's the same sort of vibe. So when people say something, they don't always know how to explain the problem they have, and they don't always explain what they would actually be willing to accept as a solution, and especially when they have to do something. Right? It's one thing to get someone to play a demo. It's another thing to get them to pay money. It's very easy to say you would pay money for a demo. It's a much harder thing to actually get them to give you the money, even if they said they were going to already. Because people, their opinions change over time. They may not have actually thought that in the first place. They may have said that as like an idea, but then, they didn't actually mean it. There's a lot of fun things to contend with there. And, like, content creation is the same. People will say they don't like this certain kind of content, but if 99% of people do, it's like, are you going in the right direction? Are you happy with what you're doing? I think that, at the end of the day, that's, like, kind of the most important. Are you happy with what you're doing?
Money for the game, and two, there's definitely a reasonable amount of self-selection bias going on here. I mean,
sure, if you hate a game so much, you're probably not gonna fucking fill out a survey for it at all.
You have to ask yourself, what kind of person decides to fill out a survey? It's probably a player that is having really strong feelings about the game. And three, the wording of this question and the available answers are a little bit sketchy at best.
Yeah.
I do think there's a little bit of answer leading going on here. So with all that in mind, what have we really learned here? Honestly, I'd say not much. But what if I told you I've been using this exact same survey since I released the original Blood Thief playtest back in 2023? And if we look at that pie chart, back then, the number of people that gave it that super high rating was only 10%. Now that's useful.
Granted, you do have 30 responses compared to 600, so you gotta also keep that in mind.
Things are getting better. And so if I could do it over, I'd probably reword this question substantially, but I'm not doing it now because I just want to be able to keep that nice comparison point with the past. And what about qualitative feedback? Like one person saying that they don't like some part of the level. In isolation, I don't think this means that part of the level is bad, since someone else might love that part. It does mean there's room for improvement though. And if I keep that playtester around and ask them to play the level again, well, we can see if the next feedback is better. So I said I learned two things about getting feedback. The other is to try to get footage from playtesters where possible. Usually when someone gives feedback, if they also recorded their gameplay, it's super obvious to tell what went wrong. Oh, they completely missed this very important detail.
Right.
Oh, they're getting stuck on this wall right here. Oh, this part was not meant to be as hard as it is. Are they having the intended experience and just not enjoying it? Or are they just not having the intended experience at all? This, I'm fine with. Again, can't make a game for everyone. But this is where I try to fix stuff. Let's go back to this room that I was talking about earlier one more time. The one where I moved this little platform down by 1 unit. This wasn't just some random change. This change came about because multiple playtesters said they hated that final room. I had a few pieces of gameplay footage I could consult to take a look at what was happening, and I could see, oh, they're all trying to shortcut up this ledge right here, and they're smacking their face against it. That's
right.
Let's just move it down a bit, and so much better. This kind of thing happens all the time, and it's why asking playtesters to record is so important. Because if I just play through the level myself, I miss the stuff that first-time players are running into because I know my game too well. So I want to be very clear.
Yeah, so he's played the game so much, he starts knowing speedrun strats and has no idea how regular people play the game anymore.
About something, the goal that I've had with playtesting isn't to make every playtester happy. Because it's just not going to happen. Plus, it's important to keep my own vision for the game at the forefront and not get bogged down in some sort of design by committee situation. That's definitely the risk I think I'm running by doing a bunch of playtesting, so I'm always trying to keep it top of mind that one of the core appeals of indie games is a cohesive, singular
having
vision.
the software you design all the time? Yeah, for sure.
And as a people pleaser to my core, this has been a tough pill to swallow. Let me tell you a story. When the demo launched, things were going great. Tons of new players coming.
You know it's so well that you don't think how others interact with it? Yup. Very true. Yeah. This is a problem that you run into. You want a good example of this? You run into with Gnome. So a long-time GNOME user knows that there's a shitload of features that are not available in the GNOME settings. You've got to go into, what's the app called? GNOME Tweaks. You got to go into GNOME Tweaks. But a lot of that stuff is stuff that probably should be in the core settings, like some of the wallpaper settings, right? But the only people that GNOME devs seem to listen to are themselves and other hardcore GNOME users. So issues like that just sit there for years with nobody wanting to address them. And when someone does bring them up as an issue, it's like, oh, well, the GNOME users like it, so don't fix it, basically.
In, getting really excited about the game. In the last devlog, I talked a lot about out-of-bounds speedrunning routes. There are just so many of these in Blood Thief. And what started to happen was that two distinct speedrunner camps started to form. Inbounds runners and out-of-bounds runners.
Right, yeah. Glitchless versus glitch runs, sure.
Inbounds runners were kind of getting the short end of the stick because they might have a super cool, super impressive inbounds run, but their runs are showing super far down on the leaderboard because they're getting beaten out by people.
Yeah, that's gotta be it. If you're gonna allow her to do out of bounds runs, that's a speedrun.com thing. They need to have a category for it. Like, that's the only way you handle that one. Or you just get rid of the idea of people being able to get out of bounds.
We're going out of bounds. So I tried to solve the problem. My idea was to split the leaderboard into inbounds and out of bounds. By default, you'd only see the inbounds leaderboard and you'd see the out of bounds
leaderboard. You actually have a built-in leaderboard. I see.
If you went out of bounds. I painstakingly added boundaries to all the existing levels.
Hmm.
And if you hit one of these boundaries during your run, then your score will get submitted to the out-of-bounds leaderboard.
Sure.
The solution seemed perfect. This way, everyone is happy. The out-of-bounds people are still
they're not happy. No one's happy.
Creativity in their leaderboard.
No one's ever happy.
Folks who just want to master the routes the game was designed for you to take, they have their own leaderboard where they're just competing with each other. But problems arose when I realized that boundaries are not, in fact, black and white. For just about everything.
Yup. It's like, oh, well, if I slightly touch this, like, am I out of bounds? The inbounds will randomly still hit an edge. Yeah, exactly.
Level, someone always was upset about the boundaries that I created.
Uh-huh.
I'd then try to tweak the boundaries, and a new set of people would become upset. It quickly became this toil that A, took me away from developing the core game, and B, nobody really liked anyway. So I ended up just completely scrapping the feature and announcing it to the Discord, and literally no one cared, which is pretty much everything I needed to see.
Because the people who are fucking speedrunning the game are like 12 people. No, like... Yeah, you might, like, sure, you might actually have, like, a popular game for speedrunning, but at the end of the day, right, like, speedrunning's always a very tiny part.
I was making the right decision. Moral of the story, don't try to make everyone happy, because it's just not going to happen. Alrighty, on to the next challenge. I have no control. I used to have one dad, the man that raised me. I love that man very much. Now I have 4 dads, and 3 of them are controlling as hell. Let's talk about dad number 1, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA. I can just be having a good old time on my computer, and Jensen Huang will just barge into my room and say, "Get to work, son. I just dropped a freaking driver update, and your game is broken now. Fix it. And clean your room, too." That actually happened. NVIDIA dropped a driver update that literally bricked Blood Thief for a sizable portion of players. Luckily, there's a workaround. It seemed to work for players to just close every other application running on their PC, including background apps, and that seemed to fix the issue. But isn't that just a scary way to live, knowing that that can just happen? Alright, and what about my other 2 dads? I swear I'll be good forever. Please keep gracing me with your algorithmic glory, and I will do my absolute best to be a good little boy.
And this is why devs never, like, you should never really update your game engine unless you know there is a feature you actually want. Like, remember the guy we saw a few months back who was building his game in UE4 still. There's nothing in UE5 he was going to use, so it's like, why would I bother? It's just more things to worry about.
All right, but in all seriousness, if I'm going to keep making games for the foreseeable future, Blood Thief needs to make some money. And it
Sure.
can be pretty hard basically giving up all control and putting your faith in a few companies that literally don't know who you are and definitely don't care about you at all. For every topic up to this point, I had a solution. But this one, I can't really say I do. I think it's just the unfortunate reality that the gaming industry is really, really hard, especially for indies, which sucks because indie games have given me some of my all-time favorite moments of my entire life. Plus, in spite of all the challenges, I freaking love getting to make games, and
I've never played FTL, but I do know it's really good.
To the final point of this video, it's Steam Next Fest, probably the biggest indie gaming event of the year, at least for me. And Blood Thief is in it. So go find that new secret level dropping today and let me know what you think. And if you're into speedrunning, hop into the Discord, because starting right now, I'm kicking off the biggest speedrunning competition yet with the biggest prize pool I've ever done. So that should be fun. So in conclusion,
$20.
This journey as a first-time indie dev has been incredibly challenging, but I've also learned so much from all this, and I wouldn't trade any of these experiences for anything. I know I'm just one guy, and not everyone has the same experience with all this, but my only hope is that someone out there is watching this and maybe got something out of it. All right, that's all I have for this video. Bye-bye.
Fantastic video. We've seen this guy before. My fucking stop recommending me my own videos, YouTube. This guy makes great content. Like this is really good stuff. He hasn't even got 100k subs.